So today's video is on pollutants. So first we're going to start with carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is produced by burning of fuels. So when you burn fuels in power stations or in your cars, carbon dioxide is released. And carbon dioxide causes an increased greenhouse effect. So how does carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases contribute to global warming through this greenhouse effect? So firstly, it starts with the sun emitting UV radiation. So the sun emits this UV, and ozone in the stratosphere, so up here in the higher levels of the atmosphere. So ozone in the stratosphere absorbs a lot of this UV radiation. But some of this UV goes on to be absorbed by the Earth's surface. So you can see here some of the UV is being absorbed on this top layer, whereas some is going down to the Earth's surface to be absorbed. And the Earth re-emits this radiation as infrared. So it takes in UV, but it re-emits infrared radiation. And this infrared radiation is absorbed by greenhouse gases. So the infrared radiation is re-emitted up into the atmosphere where it's absorbed by carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. And this infrared radiation causes the bonds in the greenhouse gases to vibrate. And it's this bond, these bonds vibrating, which increases thermal energy, causing these greenhouse gases to emit more infrared radiation. So absorbing the infrared re-emitted from the Earth causes the bonds to vibrate, increasing thermal energy, causing the greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide, to re-emit more infrared radiation. And this contributes to increasing the atmospheric temperature, contributing to global warming. So now on to carbon monoxide. So when organic compounds combust in insufficient oxygen, carbon monoxide is produced. So this is incomplete combustion. And carbon monoxide is a poisonous gas. Because they are chemically and physically similar to oxygen molecules. This means in human blood, the hemoglobin in the red blood cells will take up carbon monoxide instead of oxygen. So when you breathe in the poisonous gas, this carbon monoxide, the hemoglobin in your blood will take up carbon monoxide instead of oxygen. So this means that less oxygen will be transported around the body for respiration, leading to a person possibly dying of internal suffocation. So carbon monoxide is a poisonous gas because it can lead to internal suffocation because your hemoglobin will take up the carbon monoxide instead of the oxygen. So now on to unburnt hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxides. So unburnt hydrocarbons are fuel molecules that haven't burnt and are released into the atmosphere. Nitrogen oxides are when nitrogen and oxygen from the air combine in the high heats of the engines to form either nitrogen oxide or nitrogen dioxide. So in the troposphere, so this is in ground level, our unburnt hydrocarbons and our nitrogen oxides react in the presence of sunlight, so in a photochemical reaction, and this forms ground level ozone. And this ground level ozone contributes to photochemical smog. And photochemical smog can irritate our eyes and aggravate respiratory problems. And it can also cause lung damage. So our production of unburnt hydrocarbons and our nitrogen oxides are primary pollutants. So these are pollutants that are emitted directly from a source, can go into the troposphere to react in the presence of sunlight to form our secondary pollutant, which is a pollutant formed by the photochemical reaction of primary pollutants, to form our ground level ozone, which is a harmful pollutant that forms photochemical smog. So now on to sulfur dioxide. So when fuels with sulfur impurities are burnt, the oxygen from the air reacts with the sulfur in our fuel in the high heat of the engine. So our sulfur impurities react with the oxygen in the air to produce sulfur dioxide. And this sulfur dioxide rises to the atmosphere, where it reacts with oxygen and water to produce sulfuric acid, and sulfuric acid is a strong acid. And this same process happens with nitrogen oxides. They will be produced, they rise into the atmosphere where they react with oxygen to form nitric acid. And these strong acids can fall as acid rain. And acid rain destroys trees and vegetation. It corrodes buildings, and it kills fish in lakes. So sulfur dioxide is very bad for the environment because it can cause the production of acid rain, which has many bad environmental effects. So then lastly we have particulates. So particulates are tiny particles of suspended liquid in air. So this could be acid droplets like we saw in the last slide, or it could be carbon or soot, which are produced from incomplete combustion. So these particulates can settle in people's lungs and cause respiratory problems. And they can also contribute to cardiovascular problems, so this can cause heart attacks. And particulates also contribute to photochemical smog. So particulates are very dangerous for human health and for the health of the environment. So what are the current solutions for our pollution problem? Firstly, sulfur dioxide can be removed from power station flue gases, and these are just the emission gases. And this is done by using calcium oxide. So our sulfur dioxide can be removed using calcium oxide, so less acid rain will be formed. Particulates can also be removed from flue gases using wet scrubbers. So these will capture particulates in water droplets. So this will reduce health problems and photochemical smog from particulates. And particulates can also be removed from car exhausts using filters. Catalytic converters reduce the carbon monoxide, unburnt hydrocarbons, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide emissions, so less poisonous gases, less secondary pollutants, less ozone produced for photochemical smog, and less acid rain. And also there is a yearly MOT for emission tests on your cars, meaning that your car cannot produce over a certain amount of pollutants for it to be roadworthy. And what are possible future solutions? So the government could change more laws to reduce pollution. Also the transport industry and power generation. So these are the industries that produce the most pollutants. These could start using more renewable energy sources. So this could be solar power, nuclear power, instead of our finite, non-renewable fossil fuels. You could also raise tax on pollution, meaning industries will be less likely to cause more pollution. They'll want to reduce it because they don't want to pay. And also encourage car share and fewer plane journeys to produce fewer pollutants.